Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos and Abuja. A reminder of our top stories. Expanded Security Council meeting with President Goodluck Jonathan holds in Abuja. Military gets marching orders to search for missing schoolgirls. Resource control causes heat verbal exchange at the National Conference Committee on Devolution of Powers. Controversy trails the murder of Kogi Polytechnic lecturer as widow cries for justice. And South Sudan President Salva Kiir sacks the head of the army following renewed rebel advances. A quick reminder to you now that all our top stories are on our website, ChannelsTV.com, and on YouTube.com/ChannelsWeb. To get us on the move, please visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows phones from their respective stores. Of course, you can interact with the Channels Eyewitness feature on our Android and Windows 8 platforms. So if you have pictures or videos to share with us, tap the application on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu, and then follow the instructions to share your reports, pictures, and videos. Okay, over to Abuja now, and here's Linda Akigwe. Linda.
Thank you, Joma, and welcome to the nation's capital. It's a case of work must go on as the National Conference Committee on Civil Society, Labour and Sports adopted its deputy, Mr. Issa Aremu, as acting chairman following the absence of his chairperson, Mrs. Bola Ogurinade. Mrs. Ogurinade has been absent for 2 days. When contacted, the acting chairman, Mr. Aremu, said the chairman claimed she was away for a funeral in South Africa, but took permission from the Confab Secretariat. He says if this is confirmed by the Secretariat, she may return to her job on Monday. Otherwise, the law would be applied. The adoption of Mr. Aremu was taken after a unanimous vote by members during the committee session. However, there are reports that Mrs. Ogurinade resurfaced today. Our correspondent Larry Lasisi reports.
Committees at the National Conference appear to have hit a rhythm as they continue to work on their different topics. Some of the committees, such as the Committee on Public Finance and Revenue, spend the day taking presentations from agencies and individuals to help them in their assignment. In the Committee on Religion, the discussion focused on the funding of religious schools and education.
Everybody should be free to go to wherever they want to go and learn whatever they want to learn. That's what I think would solve the problem of conflict amongst us.
If it is a Christian school, the Muslim children should be able to attend that school in a way that if they are having their Christian subjects, the others may maybe have some moral instructions. And then for the Islamic schools, if they are running Islamic school, the same thing.
While the discussion here was orderly, it was a different story in the Committee on Devolution of Power.
What the Supreme Court is saying is that what is derived from the water belongs to the 200. Mr. Chairman, you are supposed to conduct this meeting as a mission campaign. Yes. You shouldn't allow your personal view to be interrupted. Look, if you do that, you will not succeed. Please, just give your own personal view.
Thank you. I do want to make sure that we do not. We do not base our arguments on wrong premise.
The committee then continued its discussion on resource control. an issue that still led to heated debate among members.
Agree that what patient we have in front of us is what we said. And I no, please, unless you want to change. B, can you read out your B? Oh my God. Can you read out your B, please?
Mr. Chairman, we also...
No, we don't need to agree whether the minutes are correct or not.
We have agreed that it has been adopted. We have agreed that it was adopted.
So it is finished.
And so it's finished. So why are you giving him to be talking? Because all of us can also be making noise.
Mr. Chairman,
You don't know, you don't only one man to be talking.
it's a member to this again. They only spoke about the lines.
One man alone will be talking and you allow him, and when other person want to talk, he said don't talk.
Meanwhile, the youth delegation at the conference have expressed their dissatisfaction with the exclusion of youths in important committees.
How come we were omitted from the equal critical issues like devolution of power, restructuring of government, public service, political parties? Was this a deliberate attempt to silence our view on political issues or another omission?
So if you're discussing issues of security and it is only being managed by the elderly, then what we are saying that we're concerned that our input is almost already being overlooked. That's what we're saying. And to that regard, when it comes back to plenary, it means that the recommendations are just recommendations of people who are not within that demography.
When it comes to the outcome of the plenary, we're not, like we've stated, we're not walking out of the conference. It's very important to state that. But what we are saying is that we'll take every opportunity at the plenary to reject any position or any decision or any outcome that we're not a party to.
Also, the chairman of the Committee on Civil Society and Labour, Mrs. Bola Ogunriade, stands the risk of being sacked on Monday for not attending committee sittings for 2 days. Her committee has already appointed an acting chairman and formally informed the secretariat of their decision. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
The Easter festivities are over and politics is in the air again, with the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC in the state, Mr. Kayode Fayemi, taking his re-electioneering campaign to Ijero local government area to solicit for votes from residents of a town ahead of the June 21st, 2014 governorship election. Speaking with newsmen, Mr. Fayemi said his unique selling point is his track record of performance, which he believes can get him back into the government house in Ado-Ekiti for another 4 years of service to the state. A two-story building under construction today collapsed on Sand Beach Lane in the Oronshoki area of Lagos, leaving 10 people injured. The victims of the disaster were trapped under the rubble for a few hours before the collapse, before emergency agencies came to their rescue. Many have often blamed most of the disasters on the use of inferior building materials. And it's exactly a year now that a polytechnic lecturer, Mr. Nathaniel Abimaje, was murdered during a protest on campus. At that time, the university authorities accused the students of being behind the murder. But now the slain lecturer's widow is crying out for justice. A big story examines what has happened so far.
Indomie instant noodles, tasty nutrition, good for you.
Like any other day, life in and around Kogi State Polytechnic appears normal. Everyone up and about their day's business. But there's this woman, Mrs. Elizabeth Abimaje, a staff of this school, who is in deep pains. Just a year ago, her husband was gruesomely murdered here on campus in circumstances yet to be unraveled.
I'm a civil servant with the Kogi State Polytechnic.
Recounting the last moments of her husband, Mr. Nathaniel Abimaje, she won't buy any stories suggesting he was stabbed to death by rioting students.
I was called that a student had been wounded. On my own, on normal ground, no, as we usually go out to help students, I rushed out. So I saw the blood. I said, this is the place the person was wounded. Now traced the spotted blood down and saw a dead body under the mango tree in front of the science tech. I shouted, because I went in group of man-o-war, I shouted, hold on, let us identify that is a student. On flashing my torchlight, lo and behold, he became my husband.
The students were fighting among themselves. He went in to appeal to them, and he was attacked. So how could somebody or in the group of people now to say that he was attacked by staff?
It was a slaughter. It was not stabbed. Maybe if you see somebody who is stabbed, you see where they struggled or something met him accidentally. But this is a cut on the jugular vein. I used my hand to cover that point when I carried him to the hospital.
She takes us through the part where the incident occurred, alleging her husband was lured to death by powerful persons other than the students who she claimed they lived for.
We normally cook, and students will eat during exam because they call it a hard period, injury time. So we sent food, bags of rice, bags of gari. Even the last exam, they came back to write after the riot. I still sent gari and rice, bags of rice to the hostel. We do that on personal ground. It was that personal calling we have that made us to still live on campus. Not afraid of anything, because even if there's riot, they will leave our house and stone other houses. Other staff can bear witness to that.
He was attacked in the midst of students who were fighting. He went there to appeal to them to stop the fight. This is what happened.
They didn't attack me, neither him. They said, "Oga, no be you with the fine though." I mean, they said something like that. So how will you tell me that those students now killed?
While this spot fenced with stones still serve as a memorial for where he was murdered, tears filled her eyes as she tells us the authorities aren't doing enough for the man they eulogize so well.
I want justice. The government can give me accommodation and settle the children. My children are coming on holiday. I don't have a hope of how they are going back to school. We are educated. We have a standard of how we want our children to be. Their father was to collect his result of doctorate degree before he was killed. He have a high ambition. He has that for his children. The first daughter wants to be a pilot. The second daughter wants to be an engineer. The son wants to be a doctor. They all have this, and their father has promised them heaven and earth that whatever they can do, they can wherever they want to go, he will sell his life to go. But now, they don't even have accommodation. They don't even have school fees at secondary school level. So I'm afraid of tomorrow. It makes me weep day and night.
A one-year memorial service has held on campus in his remembrance, but grief, pain and disappointment are still the order of the day among his friends, and worst still is the allegation making the rounds that his integrity and uprightness gave him in, a position the ASUP chairman finds trivial and spurious.
If Abimaje were rigid and he was not extravagant with marks, does it mean others were elastic and very corrupt with their marks? Meaning that he was 1 out of 200 or less or more. And that is an indictment on the whole system.
So everything that's supposed to be done was done at the right time.
A good man has been hacked down, and until justice is done, his children will continue to have their fate hang in a balance. Again, worrisome still is that justice delayed in cases as this is fast becoming justice denied. Someone needs to act now. For the big story, Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Indomie instant noodles, tasty nutrition, good for you.
from Abuja. Back to you, Ijoma.
And a very tragic one there, indeed. Really, really very sad. Now, when the news at 10 returns, Ogun State sensitizes taxpayers in the state. Do join us again.